Hello, I'm Spades and welcome back to another video. As voted by all of you, I will be doing a part 4 to my Five Nights at Freddy's redesigns with the Nightmare animatronics. Like the previous redesigns, these are all just for fun and not to be taken too seriously. I feel like especially with these designs I went a little weird with the concepts. For these designs I went for more of a dream creature and figment of the twisted mind rather than the typical animatronic look. I hope you all enjoy the video and let me know what you think in the comments below. And without further ado, let us begin. With Nightmare Freddy, I struggled to get a design down at first. You may notice in the footage we already have a sketch. I created a version, I'll show it on screen now, but I weren't too happy with the original design, so I kind of played around with it off camera till I got a sketch I was like more happy with. For the design, I wanted to play with the idea of phobias, and for my Freddy design, I based him off the fear of mascots. I turned Nightmare Freddy into this giant mascot bear costume, left to rot and mold, patchwork and constantly being put back together, his insides filled with fraddles, hundreds of these twisted teddy bears controlling his every move. I was inspired by the minigame Cake Freddy for his design. I wanted to take concepts and events that happened in the games but kind of remixing and distorted them through the lens of the mind. A man wearing a mascot costume, kids stuffed inside a suit, nasty odors, and the bloodshot eyes of the game over screen kind of remixed into this creature. I also had it so the Freddles were kind of exposed in certain parts and like coming outside of Freddy. And yeah, speaking of the Freddles, they ended up resembling Fugglers, but they were based on one of those you ever go to the dentist as a kid and they have like the plush toys in the lobby and they have teeth? I think they used to teach kids to like brush their teeth, but they have like stuffed animals with human teeth, and that's what they were inspired by. I do imagine the Freddles would like slowly fill up the soup before chasing you down. Kinda similar how the Freddles like appear and then Nightmare Freddy appears. I do love the way this design turns out and it perfectly encapsulates all the concepts that I wanted to play around with for all the designs. I feel like all the nightmare designs I made for this video ended up being different directions on how you could take the nightmares or this dream creature concept. Nightmare Bonnie's design I feel like ended up the most dark fantasy and Alice Wonderland to me. For Bonnie, I based him around the fear of and concept of life and death. I was inspired by the genre of photography of skeletons and tech being overgrown and taken over by nature, kind of symbolizing the cycle of life. Where there is death, there is life, and vice versa. I chose Bonnie to represent death as William Afton used Spring Bonnie to commit the murder, so in a way, Bonnie is the bringer of death. Bonnie's body is made from wood, being inspired by Del Toro's Fawn, but with elements of bones and mechanics. The head is inspired by taxidermy and depictions of the Wendigo, an evil cannibalist spirit. Per suggestion, I added a worm in the eye. Gross, I know. I kept the chest exposed, having the wood-like ribs with a heart inside, just to be like how they say the animatronics are alive. I gave Bonnie a rusted collar. I wanted to kinda change elements of the characters as the mind's trying to fill in the gaps. I personally think Bonnie has a cool design, the most unusual and unique in my opinion. I like the dark fantasy of it. I would love to make more designs in the lines of this, I think. straight away for Nightmare Chica, I wanted to bring back the multiple rows of teeth that she had in the teasers leading up to FNAF 4, as I actually found that quite scary as a kid, so that was a priority for me. Nightmare Chica is based on the fear of chickens, just because I thought it would be funny, but also I feel like there is some untapped potential within the horror of birds and bird-like creatures. I just wanted to explore that through this design. Something about the small eyes and the movements of chickens when applied to like larger scales could be something quite frightening. I realize that sounds a little silly, but it makes sense to me. The design is this overgrown chicken creature, almost mutated beast-like. The design being a blur of the past and previous Chica designs, the mind blurring together figures of Chica and giving them this chicken heads and giant maw with rows of razor-sharp teeth, ready to eat you alive. For the little cupcake, I decided to kind of reference my strange beaver that I made and mash them up with my Slendy Tubby's Dipsy design. You should totally check out that video, by the way. Oh my, that was my first shameless plug. Yes, so they're kind of like this head creature with spider legs. Just because I know people love spiders. Chica turned out the most terrifying in my opinion. I imagine that chasing you down, and it's a visual, let's say that. Something that's always fascinated and disturbed me is submechanophobia, the fear of man-made submerged objects, more particularly in this context animatronics submerged. Something about the visuals really unsettles me, yet I always end up going down rabbit holes of the histories of these animatronics. For my Nightmare Foxy design, I wanted to base him off submechanophobia, because pirate, sea, it made sense to me. My design has more of a typical Nightmare design to it, with the robotics and withering, but relocated and recontextualized, being molded and disintegrated by the sea. I also gave him barnacles on his body to give him an aspect of trypophobia, the fear of small closed together holes. I gave him an exaggerated hook to play on the idea of this being a nightmare creature, as well as giving him his tongue back from the teasers, cause why not? Foxy also has this chain on his leg, like he escaped from the sea and is coming down to hunt you. I know the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics were bolted on the stage, so it's kind of like a very vague reference to that. I do feel like I made his pose a little too stiff. I feel like this idea has definitely been done before, but otherwise I'm really happy with his design and I love my interpretation of Nightmare Foxy. Nightmare Fredbear, I based him off the fear of forgetting. Whether you believe it's the older brother's guilt, the crying child's lost moments, or often torturing the older brother, not letting him forget, I believe the concept can work. I forget how vague FNAF 4 is, ironic forgetting, which I'll come back to this with a certain character, but yeah, fear of forgetting. Fredbear within this context is the memory of the crying child and what happened that day, focusing on the teeth, the bite, These teeth were inspired by those early development photos of the FNAF movie while it's still with Warner Brothers, and inspired by this doll art piece that I have. It was a gift from my friend Joe, but I believe it's from Plushie Couture or inspired by it, and that was a reference point for this. I moved his eyes to his hands to make him look more inhuman. Also another Pan's Labyrinth inspiration, with the pale man, which in himself represents greed and evil within humanity, which also works within Fredbear. His body is supposed to look very Flash-like, and I gave him sunflowers to hint at the idea of hospitals, since there's a lot of imagery within FNAF 4 of hospitals. Sunflowers are also associated with longevity, which can be taken as mocking or the longevity of the older brother's actions. I also gave one of the flowers a cracked skull because of that, and I just thought horror visual. I know that's not the strongest reason to do it, but oh wells. I personally think I could have gone a little more detailed within the design with the flesh bits and making them all gross and fleshy, but I like the concept overall. From my understanding, Plushtrap is this bring Barney Springtrap doll come to life, so I just decided to play with the fear of dolls, giving them a more porcelain doll appearance and giving them softer colours and plenty of ruffles. I don't have too much to say about them other than the straightforward thing of blending characters together and phobias. I gave them a crack on their head, which is supposed to hint towards the upcoming bite, a subtle foreshadowing, if you will. I think they turned out really nice. Overall, it's a solid design, kind of Chucky vibes in a way. So, Nightmare was a nightmare to design, to be honest. I didn't realize this till making this video, but there's nothing in the games which imply or explain what Nightmare is supposed to be. The other nightmares have at least something, even if it's little, but there's only theories for nightmares as it's never explicitly explained or stated. I did come up with a first design which I'll pop on the screen now, but I weren't too happy about it like my Nightmare Freddy, so I decided to redo it and revise the concept. I decided to base him off the fear of shadows and sleep paralysis creatures, having souls trapped inside of him being a metaphor for the pain and suffering Fazbear Entertainment and this incident will cause. I based the face off an owl's. I wanted it to look almost mask-like. This monster mirroring the monster, or well, Michael, who caused this all to happen, with his Foxy mask. Nightmare is a lot sharper than Fredbear, dangerous, almost inky. Once the darkness gets a hold of you, you'll never be able to scrub away your sin. Put that on one of those Alpha Wolf shirts. I think I did a good job with Nightmare, but I'll let you as the audience decide. I think I'm really happy with this design. It's not too far off from the source material to look too strange, but also it does something a little more with his design, which I really like. I like the eyes in particular and all the souls like crying out for help. So those were my attempts at redesigning the nightmares. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and thank you all for watching the others. I didn't really think I'd make more than one part, and for the videos to do so well and you all like them so much, I really appreciate the support and the comments you've all left. So just thank you to y'all. I'm a little unsure when the next video will come out, but I will keep you updated on my community posts as usual. I hope you all have a wonderful day,